So you just painted your bathroom, but the paint is peeling right off. If this sounds like a problem that you're having, don't worry, I got you. So there's a few things that can cause your paint to peel. Sometimes it could be humidity, and you'll see that in small bathrooms a lot, that if you don't have good ventilation, that heat, that moisture in the air can cause your paint to peel. But a lot of times that's not even the issue. Most of the times you can contribute your paint peeling just to bad prep. You just had your bathroom refinished and you have brand new sheetrock, or you just had some patching done, but you forgot to prime the spackle. It is super important that whenever you have brand new drywall or you did some spackling, that you use a PVA primer to seal those areas. New drywall always has to be primed first before it can be painted. And the same goes for any areas that have just been spackled. Whenever you use spackle, you want to prime and seal those areas. Not priming and sealing those areas, especially new drywall, will cause your paint to fail in the future. So it is super important that you always prime using either a PVA primer or a high build primer. Now, if you had a bathroom that's already been painted and you went ahead and put a fresh new coat of paint on, but the paint is peeling, I can almost guarantee that the reason for that is that you didn't clean the walls. It is super important that you clean walls, especially in the bathroom. Grease, grime, hairspray, all that stuff collects on those walls, on that surface, and the paint will not stick. And although you just painted the walls and everything looks nice and neat, once that paint dries, there will not be a connection between the paint and the surface. Now you can use pretty much any degreaser that you like. You can use Dawn dish soap, you can use super clean, you can use TSP, whatever you feel comfortable using. Now after you clean your walls, you want to go ahead and scuff sand them. Now you can use a sanding sponge, a fine sanding sponge, or you can use 220 grit sandpaper. Now it's super important that you don't sand before you clean your walls. If you sand your walls before you clean them, what can happen is you can push that grime and that grease into the surface, and that's gonna cause your paint to fail. So again, always clean before you sand. Now you only have to lightly scuff the surface. You wanna use the same pressure that you would maybe cleaning some windows. You don't have to push hard, just something to kind of rough up the surface. Now after scuffing up the surface, go ahead and wipe down the walls with a damp rag just so you can get rid of the dust and debris. Now you're ready to paint. Now before painting your walls, especially in bathrooms, I would always suggest using a extreme bond primer or a high bond primer. Now what you do is you try a small section first, you put a little bit on the wall, let it dry, come back in a couple of hours, see if it scratches off. If it doesn't scratch off, you're good to go. Now the rest is simple. You just go ahead and paint your bathroom with any paint of your choice, but I will always suggest using a good quality paint. Yes, you absolutely get what you pay for. If you end up using a cheap paint from, I don't even want to say it, but if you end up using a cheap paint, chances are that it's gonna fail. You can have peeling regardless of all the steps that you took prior to that. You can end up doing 30 different coats. Invest into your paint, invest into a good paint such as Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, Deluxe, Valspar. Do your research. Personally, I like to use Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore, but it's totally up to you. And I'm not being sponsored by them or anything, but those are just my go-to paints. Now to prevent your paint from bubbling and peeling in the future, I would always suggest to make sure you have good ventilation. If you don't have a vent, open the door after you shower. Try to open a window. If you don't have a window, maybe run a fan or something, but try to keep that moisture off your wall as much as possible. Now, if you have a small bathroom with bad ventilation, they have paint that is specifically made for those situations. It's a bath and spa paint, and you usually can only get it in like a matte or flat finish. But what it does, it absorbs all of the moisture. Now that's gonna help your paint job last even longer, but it's also gonna prevent mold from growing right in all of those areas that you can't keep dry.